I am out on the LXR 380 again. I am planning to get the review and everything done very soon, but I've also got some other stuff to do, and the weather has been just pants. But I needed to get out this morning. I've just had a meeting with, I'm just going to say, a Triumph place. Things, yes, are looking very good for this year, and I've got a video coming up which I'm going to film when I get home, talking about the future and things I need to change. It might be a little bit longer than I necessarily want to do it, but you know, you'll see. But I would really appreciate if you really enjoy my content and want to see what I'm going to do this year, if you'd watch that. You know, when all this stuff about Norton started coming out, the reason I didn't make a video is because I was being fed some information earlier on, and I heard about this and I was like, wow, this story's going to get deeper, and I wanted to just leave it and see how deep it gets. I didn't want to, you know, make a video and then find out there was so much more to it. And it's now got to a point where I think, well, when I found out the last bit of information that I found out about it, I was like, well, that's kind of, yes, I'm sure there is going to be more to this story. I'm sure it's going to get worse, but that pretty much says from day one it was always a scam. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Norton, the British motorcycle company, is basically gone under, but it didn't go under through natural means, as it were. I'm not going to go into every single detail in this video, because for me to understand what I've learned so far is I've had to listen to podcasts and read articles and learn about other stuff and speak to people. It's a lot of stuff, but just understand that Norton itself was bought with money that was basically swindled out of Spondon frames, and also something to do with HMRC and some tax issues. And so that's how they got the money to get the company. So as a starting point, that's probably not a great one. They also took a lot of money from a lot of people, their pension pots basically, and said, you know, if you want to invest in the company, we'll give you more money back. It's an investment, it'll be good for you. No, they basically have just buggered off with all of their money. So, you know, the company's bought with basically swindled funds. The people they got to invest in it are not going to ever see their money, not from the company anyway. You've then got the government money that they were given. They were given a few million quid for the government at the time of Brexit. They wanted to use, at the time it's been discussed, they wanted to use Norton as an example of a growing British company, you know, post-Brexit, we can still be strong and all that sort of stuff. And Stuart, the guy who sort of was running the show, did a lot of the things. He was claiming to basically be I'm an innocent party, I knew nothing. Put it this way, the way that the Spondon Frames guy found out that he was getting swindled was Stuart's dad going to his house and saying, I think my son is diddling you, or something like that. There has been questions about the fact that, you know, the government put money in and didn't check to see what was going on with this company, like checking, like, you know, we're in trouble anyway, was this a good investment, etc, etc. Yeah, as is the way. They were obviously very, very much wanting to get behind something cool that the people would get behind. You know, we need good optics. Well, this was not good optics. I actually, by chance, happened to be at the motorcycle show in 2018 where they were showing off the Norton SS, the, you know, nice silver one. I believe the silver one on the stand was actually the first customer's bike available, but some people have been waiting a very long time to get their bikes, you know. And Stuart was very much sort of very friendly with people, but if you went against him, he suddenly seemed to be very, very angry and cutthroat. You know, there's Sixth Gear Motorcycles, he's made a video talking about the fact that he nearly bought one. Oh my god, didn't you dodge a bullet, mate? And basically he got blocked from by the guy on Twitter and stuff. It's just like, really? So yeah, so as you can see, story so far is not great. Why are you doing 45 and a 60? Come on! Oh! Windy! Oh, this would be stupid, but the bike's already dirty, so whatever. Let's go down here. Oh god, this might have been a really, really bad idea actually. Anyway, so yeah, so as you can see from the start so far, companies bought the legal funds, took money off the government when they really probably shouldn't have been given it, were being very late to deliver bikes. When they were delivering bikes, the quality wasn't as good as it should have been, and that's where the stories you will have heard of the first one, as each story sort of breaks, everyone's like, oh my god, it's so much worse, how could it possibly get worse? Oh my god, they did what? And then you're like, okay, I get it, it's bad, but well, thank god that's it. Oh god, they did it again! It's like getting worse and worse, the stories, as I say. Guy takes his bike in for some paint chips and some paint peeling going on around the tank and stuff from the vapours, was calling it peel. It's a chrome paint, and to replace that they basically said, look, we're going to have to take the panels off your bike, we're going to have to send them off and get them all repainted in one go. A little bit like what happens with like the H2, I believe, because the paint they use, you kind of have to do a lot of it in one go. Special paints have to be done that way because they're hard to, you know, yes, if you paint it all together it's going to look the same, but if you do the panels at different times you're not going to get a match between panels when it comes to some of these more complicated paints. So a guy basically is in this scenario, he's speaking to them, he's like, well, they're like, well, we'll take the bike in, you know, over the winter. The guy's like, well, I don't need it over winter, so that's fair. You fix the body panels and then I'll have it back by Christmas, yeah? That'd be good. And they're like, yeah, that's great. Obviously time came and went and blah 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 blah, and he you know, he's still waiting on these people. This is around Christmas, and then in the new year this guy's brother basically calls him and says, and this goes back to a couple of months ago I think now, so it's like, you know, Norton's gone into liquidation, they've got a winding up order, and he's like, crap, I need to get down there and pick my bike up. So the guy goes down there to the factory and he's like, give me back my bike, that's my property, I've paid for it, you're not going to use that as an asset to pay some of your debts, it's mine, give it back to me. And he found that they'd been stripping bikes for parts to build other bikes. In other words, when he went there, so when this guy went to pick up his bike, rather than getting a nice bike, what he got was no fairings, no wheels, a frame and an engine. That was basically it. They'd been taking parts off of bikes to sell other bikes to people. So they took parts off of bikes owned by other people, stole parts off of bikes owned by other people to then resell them. So they are double selling parts they'd already sold. Can you see how, like, after everything else, when we heard about that, it was like, you're kidding me, you can't. It becomes like, at first you're like, okay, it's a business idea that went wrong, and then you're like, okay, it sounds like it was a bit like maybe someone was trying to do some diddling in the background, as it were, the accountants, and then you're like, no, it seems like it was rotten from day one. And it's because, as far as I'm aware, I'm not looking to get sued, not that the guy's got any money to sue me at this point and probably hasn't got a leg to stand on, it seemed like Stuart would be very much responsible for a lot of the stuff that went on there. Whoa! I believe there is several bikes that this has happened with. There's definitely at least two. One guy, luckily, he kept his wheels and his suspension and stuff. At least they could wheel it out of the factory. Stuart's kind of fallen off the face of the map and isn't speaking to anyone, which is totally understandable, whether it was completely legit or not. Having the press coming up to you and shoving a microphone in your face asking you about a current business which is going into liquidation, you're not going to say anything. You know, that in any other situation wouldn't necessarily be an admission of guilt. Yeah, sure, everything else is now known, so... okay, I guess we're going up here then. Leo 5, Eds. You lost your non-legal plate. No, I'm not going through the middle of that. I know I said I didn't mind getting it dirty, but I'm going to be too ridiculous. Oh, I better not get a puncher. I've just realised what road I've come down. Oh. I think they're the key things that have come out about Norton. If you've not heard about any of it, this video is not going to express every single thing that's been going on in every detail. It's not. It's just I think those key points tell you a few things about how bad things at Norton were, and how, as I say, I don't think it was a good idea gone bad, a hopeful dream that was just unfortunately quashed before it could find its way. It was a rotten thing from the start, and I think that as I say, it started with a bad apple, and it's a real shame because, you know, Norton it's loved by a lot of people, and that's why people put money into Norton, because it's one of the few British things we had, you know, manufacturing wise, and they were producing some very cool things. You know, the bikes looked and sounded absolutely fantastic. But yeah, it's just a real shame that that's the way things went, and it's a shame that it's just amazing how two-faced, like how brazen Stuart was about stuff. He must have known this was going to catch up with him. He must have known this was never going to work out forever. It's like, what was this? Was this your like one last proper jabber, and you're going to disappear off to the Costa del Sol or something? I don't get it. It's like, you can't buy a business with money you manipulated out of someone else or through false things and expect it to work. I mean, the fact, as I say, that Stuart's own dad sort of went to the Spondon people and said, look, out of you know, out of thought for you, I need to tell you that my son is screwing you over. As I say, the reason I didn't make a video about this before, when it was quite early, sort of when it was coming out, is because every day something new came out, and you know, the time it takes between me making a video and it hitting YouTube, you know, that 3-day gap for my patrons. By the way, huge thanks to my patrons. It was probably going to be out of date information, and it would have been, because every time I was like, oh god man, I can't see it getting any worse than this, I need to talk about this, this is nuts. And it's amazing that quite a lot of people don't know about it. I mean, how is the mainstream media not picked up on this by now? To my understanding, this has been kind of known for a long time that there were some severe problems going on, and it seemed like no one was saying anything. I don't know how to feel about that, because I can understand like the guys who work there being told to do, you know, build a bike, and they're only producing like 1.2 bikes a week or something like that, or is it a month? It just was not enough to pay the electricity bill, let alone anything else. These guys must have known something was up. And then when it comes to taking parts off of a bike and putting it on another one, you must have known what you were doing. However, you know, if your boss tells you to do something and your fear is that basically you'll end up losing your job over it, are you going to do what you're told? You're just going to say, well, I'm doing what the boss tells me, and it'll be his responsibility at the end of the day. So I can understand how maybe it didn't come out sooner, but it just amazes me. But when I found out about the fact that the company originally was bought with manipulated funds, I was like, that's it. It doesn't matter what happens now. Sure, loads more bad information can come out, but it pretty much proves that from day one it was not going to go well. I believe the amount of money that may have gone into Norton that is kind of like, well, okay, where is it? Is about 20-something million quid. Now, obviously, the company don't have the money. Most of the people are going to get screwed over. There's even a gentleman who invested money into it, £100,000. He's got, is it MS? I think he might have MS, but he basically has a condition which is getting worse, and he needs that money to live. It was money he'd worked hard to earn, and basically thought, right, well, if I invest this in this company, it should, you know, produce a little bit of a gain for me, and things should be better in the future. And also, I'll be, you know, maybe he'll feel pride that he helped bring back a British classic, the Norton name. But that's been sabotaged by Stuart, it would seem. And this is where I sort of want to go talking a little bit further, is like, what is the future of Norton? Will another company come along and try and buy it? You know, there's been discussions of, I think maybe Triumph might have been interested, or maybe it's going to be some unknown company, maybe it'll be some Chinese place, maybe, you know, who knows? Who knows? Oh! I forgot about that bump. You know, will someone come along and buy the Norton name? It's possible. But I'm wondering, has too much damage been done? You know, when a company goes under legitimately, when their eyes are too big for their stomach, as it were, and they try and bite off more they can chew, and it just doesn't work out, and the company goes under and someone else takes it up and tries to push things forward, I think people are forgiving. But I've got a feeling that the Norton name is now so tarnished that it would be, to buy that company and to try and use that name might be more of an uphill battle than it's worth. I don't know, maybe people will just realise that Stuart really was the problem, if he was the problem. Don't want to get sued, not that I think he's got any money to sue me, as I say. But if he will people accept that he was the problem, you know, and keep moving forward? I suspect the logical people will, and people in the know will, but when it comes to people who don't really know too much about things, they tend to go on the headlines, and rather than Stuart blah 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 did this, it's Norton. Norton in trouble, Norton in this, naughty Norton. As always, if I've got any of this wrong, or slightly wrong, or there's some more information come out that I don't know about, if you want to add any key sort of facts into the comments, go for it. I'm just, you know, I want to learn about as much of this as I can, and it seems like there's so many people that know a little bit, and as everyone starts going, well, yeah, I knew this, and then there's also this, it seems like, you know, we're going to learn more and more as time goes on, and you might have something to add. And obviously it'll also keep this video up to date. I just want to I want to learn a bit more about it myself, make sure everything I've heard is correct, and you're not going to turn around and say, well, that didn't seem right, because that's not what I've heard. As I say, just discussion, not me telling you anything. And the other thing I think is to mention is there's a lot of people now talking about the government and saying, You know, all these people have lost their pension pots. They've been screwed over by a company which the government themselves had a part in because they were funding them, and they didn't do the checks to see whether the scroungy scoundrel had bought the company with illegal funds to start with. They have some responsibility in this now to replace that money for the pension pot. And I don't know how much money is going to be required to reimburse those people, but let's say it's 20 million quid. Let's say it's the full 20 million or 27 million maybe. I've heard a couple of figures, but let's say that. Should the government give them that money? I think most of us will say yes, because if the same happened to you, yeah, okay, those are investments which they're a risk. So, you know, it's a risk-reward thing. You don't get the reward without the risk. That's kind of what gambling is. And that's why investments are kind of like gambling, and people want a gamble-free investment, and you can't have that. That doesn't exist. You know what I'm saying? There always has to be a risk to get the reward, otherwise everyone will be doing it. Otherwise it's just a machine to double your money, basically. Put one in, get two out. What's the problem with that? If the machine was put one in and every now and then it would eat it, and everything else in your bank account, you might think differently about it. Oh man, this weather is really holding me back doing stuff. But I've got stuff to do to this bike, which I'm going to be doing next week. So, whoa! So I've got an update video coming. And once I get that video done and I express everything I want to do this year and moving forwards, I am going to be just like, grow. I'm going to have so much to do this year. It's going to be good though. I think you're going to like it. It's a leap of faith. It's yeah. Let's go into that in its own video. I'm just a little bit pumped because I want to talk about it. I'm ready to talk about it finally. I've got my mind around it. I know what's going on. Thank you. Oh no, it's still bad. Ah! You bloody don't. Fucking stop. Thank you. As you can see, the weather's not been great, and that's why riding videos have been somewhat short recently, although I'm doing my best. Whoa! The wind speed has somewhat increased. I'm going to go. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got anything to add about Norton, if you want to correct anything I've said, if you want to add in anything, add any extra details, little stories and stuff, if you've got any links to stuff like, you know, news articles and stuff, not your videos, because if people search they'll find them, please remember to smash the like out of the fat button and subscribe, because I'm on my way to 100k and I would really appreciate your help on that. Right, catch you next time.
If you enjoyed this video and the other content on the channel, please consider following the links in the description to show your support.